Joining us now is our political panel, Republican strategist Alice Stewart and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona. Always great to have you on, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, so on the heels of what we just heard from the Vice President, I mean, that was a bit of a non-answer there. Wondering what you think. How difficult is it for the administration to strike the right tone here?
Well, I think that difficulty that you heard in her answer is exactly the right thing to do, because they shouldn't be involved in anything having to do with the Department of Justice. They shouldn't be seen in any way as putting their thumbs on the scale of whatever the Justice Department wants to do moving forward in terms of trying to seek justice either for former President Trump or anyone else. And I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that the same way that it was completely inappropriate and unjust for anyone, including the former President Trump, to weaponize the Department of Justice in going after his political enemies and in saying awful things about his former AG for not wanting to go after his political enemies, we also can't swing the pendulum on the other side and say, well, just because he's a former president and because this could be too divisive, we're going to let him get away with breaking the law. He's not above the law. No one is above the law. And so that's why I think this administration is playing it just right, so that they don't seem to be saying anything one way or the other that will influence what ultimately the Department of Justice will be doing.
And hanging over everything that anyone says right now is, of course, the fact that the midterms are just under 2 months away, right? This morning, Senator Tim Scott, Alice, was asked about recent comments from Mitch McConnell hinting that the GOP Senate candidates may not be the strongest. Here's what Senator Scott had to say.
The players are on the field. We are 8 weeks away, which is kind of like saying we're in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. So the truth is, who we have on the field is who we're going to play. I'm excited about the candidates that we have overall, because I do believe it gives us the opportunity to win back the majority and to return sanity in Washington, which will reverberate around the country.
What do you take? How do you take away what he said? I mean, it didn't seem like a ringing endorsement.
I heard shades of Mitch McConnell's concerns about candidate quality, to be quite honest. And there are some people that won the primaries with the election denial ideas, and those were good to motivate the base, but that's not the winning formula as we head to the general election. I'm going to continue Senator Scott's theme on sports. These are the players on the field. We are in the final quarter. I suggest we send a lot of them back to training camp and go through some drills. 3 things I would coach them on as they head to the field. Number 1, most importantly, appeal to independence, motivate the base, and also stick to the issues that are important to voters. And that is inflation, economy, cost of living, jobs, crime, and education. Stick to those over and over and make sure that the issues that are important to the American people in the future is what you're talking about between now and Election Day, and not past grievances. Because people will go to the polls if you give them a reason to vote for something that helps them. And the more we can focus on that, I think is a winning formula, and it is a touchdown pass for the Republicans.
Touchdown, all right, sticking with the analogy here. But, you know, Maria, the bottom line is that things seem to be looking up for Democrats in a way that even a month ago, we didn't think, right? Where do you think they're still vulnerable, though, the Democrats?
I think that sometimes Democrats are our own worst enemy, and we try to step on our own victories. And so I would just say we cannot be complacent, right? Every single thing that I've heard recently, like you said, seems to be looking up for us. The momentum seems to be at our back, but it is still very early, right? 2 months before the election is a lifetime in politics, several lifetimes in politics, and anything can happen. So I would say we continue to focus on what we want to happen in November. Continue to communicate the message of how important this election is for every American to come out and vote. Continue to focus on this administration's and Democrats' role in all of the legislative victories and what they're going to do for everyday people. And also continue to focus on the threat to democracy if we hand over control of both houses of Congress to Republicans.
You know, it's interesting, Alice, when you were talking about, you know, what Republicans need to be focusing, I don't believe I heard abortion with what you listed. Well, but I want to add to that. I was speaking to a Republican member of Congress earlier this week who said, look, I expressed a lot of concern that the abortion issue is going to backfire for Republicans, those that have been pushing for a total ban. We're now saw in South Carolina that they actually didn't get a near total ban through, which was a shock.
Right.
And I'm wondering what you think about that. Do you? I know you're pro-life,
Right.
but are you sensing that concern among Republicans?
We're seeing, as we saw in already, when the issue of abortion is on the ballot, it has been a tremendous motivating issue for Democrats and for women, getting a lot of people out when that is the single issue on the ballot. But the reality, when we're heading into the midterm elections, in terms of the issues that motivate voters, it is still the pocketbook issues, and abortion still comes in at 5 and 6 on the issues in orders of importance to the American people. So I do believe in November the issues of economic importance are going to outweigh abortion. But again, this is big picture, average voters going to the polls on the candidates that represent the full slate of values that are important to them. Again, you are right, when abortion is the only issue on the ballot and it's a referendum or an amendment, it is a motivator, but big picture, people are looking at pocketbook issues.
I hope they continue to think this way so that they ignore abortion as an issue, because abortion has been seen recently as the major motivator in women, young women especially, going to register to vote. So I think we haven't even seen the beginning of a tidal wave of the women who are going to go to the polls simply because they are pissed off that Republicans want to take away their right to do what they want to do with their bodies.
Yeah. All right. Well, we shall see, right? We'll see in less than a couple of months how it shakes out with the midterms. Thank you both, Alice,
you so
Stewart,
much.
and Maria Cardona. Appreciate your time tonight.